All right, today I'm joined by the defensive coordinator of the Amarillo Venom, Coach Maurice Leggett. Coach Leggett is a veteran of the NFL, AFL, CFL, and NAL as a player, and now joins the American Indoor Football League as a coach after getting a taste of coaching in 2023. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and help us continue to grow to get amazing guests like Coach Leggett on. Coach, how are you doing today? And thank you so much for joining me.
I'm good, man. You see where I'm at right here at Elite Fit for Life in Atlanta. Grind never stops.
Absolutely. Something tells me that's going to be a trait that we find in your players as well this season.
Oh yes, definitely. That's what I expect out of my players, and that's what I'll instill in them if they don't have it.
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. My first question comes all the way back from your college career. Back at Valdosta State, you actually won a couple national championships back in college. How do you think winning big games so early in your career helped you prepare for the professional level?
Um, it's just a level of expectation, knowing what to do, what not to do. You're still learning. Nothing was perfect. Both seasons we had a one defeat, so it wasn't a perfect season. But my senior year, that was that one. The one defeat was the one game I didn't play. So it's just a level of standard, and that way you're able to coach guys at a young player at a young age to just to form a habit of winning culture.
Absolutely. I think we'll be talking about winning quite a bit here, as you did a lot of it during your career. After college, you end up falling out of the draft despite a solid career, and you end up signing with the Herm Edwards-led Chiefs, whose defensive coordinator was one of the best in the early 2000s, Gunther Cunningham. At the time, there were few teams that were really better to land on as a defensive back. What did this staff teach you that you plan to pass down to your players in 2024?
That staff, uh, don't be passive. Don't be passive. Be a risk taker. Um, you just go out there and play. It's still just a game. Herm always said it's just a game. At the end of the day, it's just a game. It's the same thing you've been doing since you were a little kid and growing up throughout your entire life. So uh, that that was one of the things that I took with me once we parted ways.
That makes sense, which unfortunately happened very quickly after your rookie year. That was kind of rough. You guys went 2-14. They make the change to Todd Haley and Clancy Pendergast. Pendergast also oversaw defensive backs. How did Pendergast's scheme differ to that of Cunningham's prior to that?
Cunningham was a 4-3, more cover four, and then it was a hybrid between Herman, which is cover two. Um, Clancy was a 3-4 guy and was a cover three scheme. That was a huge uh, difference because I was so used to a 4-3 and making that adjustment from 4-3 to 3-4. It was a little difficult, but I just found a way. It was still learning because that was my third year at defensive back as a defensive back.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Out of curiosity, you keep touch with any of these old former coaches of yours from the NFL?
Just Herm, man. Just Herm, Ronnie Bradford. Those are the two main ones that I keep in contact. Ronnie Bradford's out in Montana right now, and it's just a couple. Just sparingly, just check on, hey, how you doing? Through social media. That's it.
That makes sense. So, in heading into the 2010 season, you ended up with yet another coordinator, which was just unbelievable to watch in your first three seasons. This time, it's Romeo Cornell, one of the best defensive play callers during that stretch, and you were also working under Emmett Thomas, a longtime defensive backs coach. How did you go about learning a new system every season, and do you think that's kind of helped you in your transition to the coaching world?
It helped and hindered me. As in the coaching world, it helped me a lot, giving me understanding of different views, different schemes, different angles, the thought process of different coordinators, and ones that worked for me, I kept along with me. Ones that didn't work, I tried to understand why it didn't work. Just because I might run into a player that and might be talented, but might not grasp or understand the scheme.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So unfortunately, at this point, injuries kind of derail your NFL career, and you end up spending the 2012 season out of the league. How did you spend that season, and did you consider going into coaching at that point, or were you still fully focused on playing?
I was fully focused on playing, coming back. Yeah, it was a frustrating time. My injury didn't heal properly, and I had to go right back underneath and get it repaired again, which ended my career in the NFL.
Yeah, it was a very disappointing situation. I remember watching you play early on, and I'm like, man, this guy's career looks like it's off to a great start. I mean, just for a quick glimpse, I mean, you had 47 tackles, 11 pass breakups, a couple forced fumbles, a couple recoveries, an interception, 2 defensive touchdowns, and that was all in basically the span of less than 2 full seasons. So it looked like you were really, really starting to catch your footing, and then unfortunately the injuries happened, and like you said, it just didn't seem to heal for you, unfortunately. Different times a decade ago in terms of the medical advancements they've made since then.
Right. I mean, it was more so just learning the game and learning how to hit. Over time, your body takes a toll. I'm a physical corner, so I'm going against guys like LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshawn Lynch, Peyton Hillis. I went against Willis McGahee. Like you're talking about bruisers. You get the Brandon Jacobs in practice. They're going against Jamal Charles, Larry Johnson every day, thudding up. Adrian Peterson we scrimmaged against the Vikings, during one of the training camps, especially my rookie year, and he's had a full head of steam 15 yards downfield, and I still have to thud him up because I'm a rookie. That takes a toll on your body.
Absolutely, it does. Without a doubt, it does. So in 2013, you end up playing arena football for the first time. What was it like adapting to the speed of the game, and what did it take for you to get to the point where you kind of considered arena football for the first time?
I just love the game of football. I wanted to just be out there and play. I wanted to try something new, and I wanted to stay close just in case I got another phone call back from the NFL from what they were telling my agent. I needed to prove that I could stay healthy. I stayed healthy that year, and then the NFL just simply told me I wasn't playing against anyone. It was that easy. I was running over linemen at that time, and then that's what made the transition a lot harder for me, just to come to terms with maybe I might not be back in the NFL. I'm doing everything that they're telling me to do, and it's not happening. So I love the game. The arena football game is the hardest game to play, and especially a defensive back.
I would agree. It's much more on an island in the arena football game. Typically, it's man coverage a lot of the time, so I definitely completely understand from the perspective of a defensive back. So during this season with the Utah Blaze, you actually played under a very well-known coach who just won a championship in the IFL, Rob Keefe. You had an unbelievable year, 69 tackles, 21 pass breakups, a couple forced fumbles, 5 interceptions, and a touchdown return. How did it feel to get back on the field and tear it up the way you knew you could, even though it may not have been against the competition the NFL wanted to see?
It was amazing. My first, and those stats are not accurate. I scored
Really?
I scored more touchdowns than that, but it was amazing because the first game of my arena football career, we go to Pittsburgh Power and play. And that's my hometown. My family came and we watched. And my first interception was for a touchdown, me running over an offensive lineman to get there. So it was amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can imagine after so long away, it was a good feeling to get back on the field. So after one season with the Blaze, you end up back outdoors, this time with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and you end up making a move to linebacker, so to speak, due to the style of play in Canada. What was this transition like for you, given your primary position to that point had kind of been defensive back?
Well, I mean, a lot of my teammates, they were calling me super nickel in the NFL. So the transition wasn't hard because that's what that Sam linebacker position is. It's just a nickel back. And then me watching some of the best players that play um, during that time, like Chip Cox, you had Corey Banks, and I was fortunate enough to have Corey Banks in training camp with me before he got injured, and that I learned from them. I learned from them that year. I was still at the top of my game, and I had a decision on where I wanted to play, and I'm the type of guy I wanted all the smoke. So uh, that and it made sense to me because I also played linebacker in college.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it seems like the CFL does that quite often. They like to have the smaller, faster defensive back move to linebacker, which seems kind of odd, but with their wider, longer field, it makes a lot of sense when you see the gameplay. So I have to ask, I found a question, or I mean, I found something about you that I thought was kind of interesting. Um, During your time with Winnipeg, you actually were part of a ballet. Is this correct?
Royal Winnipeg Ballet, yeah.
Interesting. How did that come about?
It started off as just a PR thing, and went there for the Nutcracker, and I was just there for one rehearsal, but for me, I couldn't get it. I couldn't grasp the fact that I wasn't athletic enough to do this. So I ended up coming to practice on my own outside of the media and everything. And then I went crazy. And I earned the respect because I was actually trying and doing everything I needed to do. So they embraced me. And it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So I'm kind of curious. I've heard a lot of players talk about like the balance involved in ballet and stuff like that. So how did that help you as a player?
Um, it helps with the balance. I'm not the biggest guy out there, but I'm not the smallest guy. So I've been hit, and I'm still able to keep my balance because of ballet. Just knowing how to torque your body in the air, jumping, leaping, landing, to prevent injuries.
Definitely interesting factor. You always learn some interesting notes about guys when you do this research. But so anyway, you go to the CFL. Your career is nothing short of all pro level. I mean, you play amazingly for 72 career games with the Blue Bombers. You have like 16 interceptions, 4 defensive touchdowns, 6 forced fumbles. Looking back at your career, it seems everywhere you played, you excelled on the field. How have you been able to adapt to every system, every league, every different rule set, and still dominate your opposition so regularly?
Just being coachable, using my experience, using my style of film study, um, but just knowing your game, being self-aware of what your limitations are, what you can and can't do. In the off season, I worked on all my weaknesses, uh, also my strengths, but it was just more. I coached in the off season. I coached 7-on-7 recruit ready while I was up in Canada. I did Atlanta Red Devils while I was here. And then as the experience goes, I start coaching the younger guys. So you learn best by teaching. Uh, and Coach Etcheberry, my rookie year in the CFL, he taught me that well. And it helped my game a lot. The guys that were behind me competing for that position, I helped them out as much as I could. I wasn't withholding information because me withholding information hurts the team and it hurts myself as well.
Well, I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like that was kind of a mentality of your entire team because you guys went from your first 2 seasons winning only 12 games to your last 3 seasons winning 33 games and never winning less than 10 games. So, I mean, this culture shift in Winnipeg during your career had to have been it had to have been something you were instrumental in being a part of, given that you were one of the veterans on the team. Is this something that you take with you to this day when you're looking at how you want to create that same culture in Amarillo going forward?
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to grind and get to it and get to work. So teaching these guys the level of competitiveness and just the grind, the want to, that'll help because and they will listen because I've been there at every level.
100%. And in 2019, you ended up returning to the AFL with the Albany Empire. And during that season, you won the AFL championship. Another great season. I believe that was under Rob Keefe and Les Moss as well.
Yes.
How did it feel for you to win your first championship in the pros after getting so close for 3 seasons straight in Winnipeg?
It was amazing. Um, Plagued by injuries, I have yet to be released because of my ability. So uh, it was a difficult time because I was recovering. I had what ended my career in Winnipeg was my Achilles tear. So coming and them saying that I wasn't fully healthy, and I come back and set the record for pick six yardage. Like I had the longest pick six in arena history, and I did it in the Arena Bowl, defensive player of the game. Like it was amazing. It was an amazing feeling, and it felt great to go back to winning championship mode.
Absolutely. So I've got to ask, and this question might sting a little bit, so I apologize ahead of time. But did it feel bittersweet at all that you were not a part of the Blue Bombers when they also won the championship in 2019?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The biggest difference for that Winnipeg Blue Bomber team was Willie Jefferson. There's no doubt. They did, Willie Jefferson is a one man wrecking show. So I promise we would have won every year if we had Willie Jefferson. Like I'm me and Willie Jefferson together. You can't. I would have. You can double my interceptions. You can double my touchdowns. That's how much of a force he is. It would have made the game better. Most of my picks were I had to go get it, or just off of time. There's no time. There's no time sitting back in the pocket when you have Willie Jefferson there, and it's like as a DB you should have. I would have set the record in the CFL. I would have broke the record in picks and shattered it pick sixes because of Willie Jefferson.
I
So
have no doubt.
I don't feel bitter at all. It's like, man, what it is to have Willie Jefferson on your back.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you can look back on that fondly for both situations. That's always nice to hear. I'm sure it at the time was awesome. You were just so focused on winning the championship with the NAL or AFL, sorry, at that time that at that point it would be a little tough to focus on anything negatively. Um, After the 2019 season, we didn't see you return to the field until 2021 with the Columbus Lions due to COVID. What was your time with the Lions like over the next 2 seasons?
It was good. It was pretty good. I stayed close to my family. My kids got to watch me play the game. Um, Unfortunately, 2021 didn't turn out how we expected it. We fell short to the Albany Empire. And then the following year, I got banged up in a playoff game. I had a thigh contusion, and I barely could walk after my interception in the first quarter. And we ended up falling short to the Carolina Cobras. And I felt that year we would have won if I would have just the things didn't fall into place. So the Nighthawk came out of retirement to play with me, and Damian Daniels, he's the head coach of Columbus Lions right now, and us two together would have made a huge difference. It's just unfortunately we were banged up at the end of the season.
Unfortunately, sometimes that happens. So what was it like returning to arena football this time with a new league that you hadn't experienced before, and how did it compare to your time with the AFL?
It was pretty much the same. Jason Gibson, he's a guy that knows the rule in and out. He reads the rule book. I think he was on the rule committee and everything, and he was amazing at teaching the guys the rules, and I learned from him about the rules of that game, which made it that much more easy for me to just go out there and play the game and not worry about different things.
Absolutely. In 2023, you end up signing with the Albany Empire once again in an attempt to help them chase their 4th championship in 5 seasons. If you remove the 2020 season of COVID, 4 straight. However, this run turned into a disaster, unfortunately, very quickly due to Antonio Brown's ownership. Multiple coaches were hired and fired, and before the team ultimately ended up in your hands as the head coach. How difficult was it to transition from player to head coach mid-season in that situation?
Well, with the chaos going on, it wasn't different. It wasn't difficult at all. It was a smooth transition for me because all the players were coming to me anyway, which made it that much easier, and it just made sense. I got the phone call when I packed up and was getting ready to go home. So I was all packed up, and as soon as I got gas, I got the phone call saying they wanted me to be the head coach, and it took them. I'm like, it took you guys forever, but here I was. All the guys were like, "Hey, we were coming to you anyway. We were pushing for you to be head coach for the past 3 weeks now." So when people heard all the rumors and stuff, that was the players pushing for me to be head coach.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, honestly, I don't know what they were thinking. They should have definitely listened to the players from the first place, especially in a situation like that where it seems like the season was kind of slipping away very quickly. So heading into 2024, I know that you and I had spoke off camera. There was a little bit of hope that you would resurface as a head coach again somewhere else after that short stint. But instead, you ended up choosing to join the Amarillo Venom as their defensive coordinator in yet another new league, the American Indoor Football League. What are your impressions of the AIF so far, and how does it compare to the NAL over the past 2 seasons?
It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of learning for my players, for myself as well. Krantz knows he's a part of the rules committee himself, so it just made sense. I can learn a lot faster. I have a better understanding of their rules. It's NAL, AFL with a little tweak, with an AIF tweak in there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. My guy T.O. Terrell, if you mispronounce his name, he'll get mad. But as he said, get your popcorn ready because it's going to be some fun. I see a lot of defensive touchdowns.
Okay.
Most guys, my defense is not built on. Hey, let's get some stops. It's arena football. So if you're going to get a stop, we're going to score like that. I don't just settle just for a turnover or a 4th down stop. I want touchdowns. Let's get back on the field. Let's not leave it into our offense's hands. I'm a firm believer that it's the defense's fault 100% of the time. They're like, well, if the offense scored more points. No, well, our job is, did we shut them out? No. We didn't shut them out. There was no pick sixes. Our offense didn't give up any points, so it's our job, plain and simple.
I like that mentality. I like that mentality a lot. A lot of people say defense can't necessarily affect the game like offense can, but in your defensive scheme, it sounds like the defense is going to be affecting the game quite often, like the offense.
Think about the Arena Bowl. Philadelphia Soul had all the momentum about to score, and then I get a pick 6. It changed the momentum of the game. A couple drives later, I recover a fumble forced by Terrence Moore, T-Mo. So defense is a momentum shifter. Special teams is a momentum shifter. Most people don't know. That's how I made the NFL. That's how I got off conference in college. That's how we won both national championships.
100%. I definitely can believe that, especially when it comes to special teams. It seems like the NFL looks for that in guys, especially back into the roster type guys. So ultimately, what helped you choose or decide that you were going to come to Amarillo? I'm sure you had other offers on the table at the time.
There were other offers. Uh, they weren't willing to accept the compensation for me to get out there. Uh, so they were. I guess my role wasn't as budget friendly as they wanted it to be. Um, and even with that being said, Amarillo was still up at the top of the list. A good friend of mine that I trained with while I was in the NFL played for Krantz, and he had nothing but great things to say about it. And Amarillo, from what I'm hearing, is an amazing city. So it just made sense. It just made sense. I don't really have to worry about um, the day-to-day operations as far as like a head coach or a GM has to. So it's a lot easier for me. I could just go get my defensive guys, get certain players that I want there. I get to evaluate guys how I want to evaluate them still. And I don't have to worry about, well, this budget is not good for it. So I'm just excited about it, and it's a lot of fun. There's already been trash talking amongst the staff against my defense, so I have to let them know that I have to let them know that they're not as good as they think they are.
Something tells me that realization will come awfully quick. So one of the questions I didn't have on my list that kind of just came up is you transitioned from being a player just last season. Do you think that's kind of an advantage when it comes to finding players for your team to build out your roster now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They know how I play. They know my personality. I know how these guys play. It's still fresh in my mind. I don't have to evaluate certain guys because I played against them recently. Not 5-10 years ago. It's just this past season. And then guys are willing to come out there and play because they know I will fight for them.
That makes sense. Um, you might not want to answer this question, so if not, feel free to skip it. It's completely fair. But in terms of scheme, what are you looking to bring to Amarillo? I mean, are you going to be primarily running man, or are we looking at more of a zone scheme?
It's going to be a little bit of both. I'll make adjustments accordingly to the offense and what their skill sets are, with the players they have, and the players. It's just a matchup. But I don't call it man or zone. I call it a pick six defense.
Okay.
We're a turnover defense. Like, that's the scheme that I bring.
Gotcha. It's kind of that see ball, get ball mentality, right?
See ball, get ball. If the ball is in the air, it's ours. If they have it, take it.
I love that. I love that. And if they want any indication of how you actually look at the game, all they have to do is look at your stat lines, interceptions and fumbles everywhere you've been.
They just see the film. I don't go off the stats. Just see the film.
Exactly.
If the stats, if you look at the stats, I should be in the Hall of Fame very soon in the CFL. But hey, we'll see.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
They might try to TO me and take forever.
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible. Is there anything specific you're looking for in players heading into the 2024 season?
High motor guys.
Okay.
High motor guys. No matter what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do to separate yourself from the rest of the team, rest of the players? Why did I choose you?
That makes sense. That makes sense. Also, something that a lot of teams aren't necessarily looking at is you're located in Texas, where the XFL is hubbed. The IFA, which is launching very soon, is also going to be located. Do you think this gives you guys an advantage in terms of getting players to Amarillo, given that they're probably already going to be in your area, whether it be in the XFL or the IAF, IFA?
I mean, it will give us an advantage of getting inquiries, however you want to pronounce it. But arena football game is so much different from the outdoor game. You have Pro Bowlers, you have Hall of Famers that I'm for certain that they won't be able to make an AFL team outside of pipe. Outside of ticket sales, you being successful is very hard to do. A middleman is the hardest position to play in football. So, and there's guys that make it look easy, but And like Marvin Ross, he made it look so easy, but he also said if it wasn't for me, to make it easy, I just tell him where to go, and then I got his back. It's all on the string. So that advantage is also it can be a hindrance because we're looking at, oh well, this guy is here. It can be hyped that he's a great football player, but what can he do in the arena football game? It's very tough for a rookie to come out and do it when they don't know anything about the game. Arena is more of a veterans league.
I would agree. We saw a couple players last season that kind of transitioned to the IFL originally. Robert Ndici and Malik McDowell, both high draft picks in the NFL, and they both played in the IFL. And I want to say that their performance in the rookie season was rather forgettable. When you hear those names, you kind of expect them to pop on film, but it didn't really happen so far. My final question for the day, and I really want you to shout out your gym one more time before we get out of here, but obviously someday you hope to run your own team like we spoke about. With that in mind, if you had your dream scenario of where it could happen, what would your dream scenario be of being a head coach for the first time?
Being here in Atlanta, running a team, the connections are endless. We wouldn't have to worry about strength and conditioning. We'll be here at Elite Fit for Life. Me and my partner, Melvin Paris. We've been together since 2009, back when I was with the Kansas City Chiefs and I got my injury. The dream scenario, he would be, running it with me. I would have Alan Meek as well. He was down in Columbus with me, and he was teaching me a lot about the business. That my dream scenario right there, because we'll be winning.
I love that. So hopefully that comes in the near future for you. I
would have my offensive coordinator. Like he's a young Spoelstra and Paul Tonic, so it made sense. Like everything makes sense. I already had my staff ready. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it in Albany to get that thing turned around. I couldn't get approved for the staffing, but hey, that's the dream scenario that I'll be in. But right now, just focusing on winning the championship in Amarillo.
Absolutely. I have a feeling those offers will be coming quick after the season. So one more time, what was your gym's name?
Elite Fit for Life.
Okay, and that's located in Atlanta, Georgia, correct?
Sandy Springs, Georgia, just north of the perimeter, right off Roswell Road.
Awesome. So check out Elite for Fitness with Maurice Leggett, and you might just be able to prepare yourself for a professional football season for 2024. Coach, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun learning more about your career. As I told you, I was a fan of you when you came into the league with the Chiefs. I know that was a long time ago. I look a lot older than I really am, believe it or not. But it was one of those situations where this was more of a I guess I could say a passion project. I wanted to get you on here for myself more than anything, because
I greatly appreciate it too, man.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck in 2024. I hope you guys end up taking home the championship, and we see you promoted to head coach somewhere else in 2025. But I have a feeling it's coming soon.
I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.